What's up, Cameron? So my first question for you, a guy cannot take it anymore and he's about to just break up. Like there is no other choice. How do you think he should go about that?
He's going to have to just understand that he has a bit of a mental challenge that he's going to have to deal with. Meaning that if he's someone who hasn't been used to a breakup before, then going through a breakup is going to be a challenging obstacle. Now, I call it an obstacle because due to the fact that it's a novel thing, you're going to go through some emotional pain throughout the process.
You're going to go through a whole lot of emotion stuff.
Absolutely. So you're going to go through definitely some emotional pain. You're going to go through a lot of just thinking of the past, like reminiscing of the past. And when that happens, it becomes harder to want to break up. So there has to be a lot of justification as to why you want to break up, because the one thing you don't want to do is you want to break up too soon, right? Now, based on the context you provided, Axel, that is just going straight into this person just can't take it anymore, then you have to go up to your partner. You got to let her know, like, hey, you know what? It's not working for me. And I really cherish the times that we were together, but I think it's time for me to move on. I'm going to be packing up my stuff. If you live together or you say you meet her in a public area, it's better to do it in public. You don't want to do it in private to do a breakup. So it's just better to let her know, like, hey, you know what? I really cherished our time together, and it's time for me to move on. I wish you all the best, and I'm going to move on, and we're going to go forward from there.
So how do you know if it's too soon or not?
There's definitely some criteria you want to look into. Like, number one, you want to think about, does this woman that I was with, that I've been dating or I've been even married to, has she been respecting me? Has she been following the kind of leadership that I've been providing for her? Does she look at me in a way that she feels like she can really honor my presence, and she feels like she can be authentic and be really herself around me? Because women, they tend to be very emotional creatures. So like one day they're excited, one day they're sad, and the other day they're like, they remember something from like 10 years ago that you told them, and they're like, you remember when you told me this? I'm still mad at you for that. So in that situation, it's a bit of a chaotic environment. So what a man can do is really have her lessen her chaotic behavior and make her feel just more comfortable in her own graceful femininity, because femininity, part of it is that up and down. And that's natural, and women cannot get over that. But what a man can do with his masculinity is to really give her that like kind of peace and logic, and just give her that like comfort where she can be herself and she's not going to be judged, right? So if it doesn't exist anymore, if he doesn't feel like that's present, where she's really like having a good conversation with him, like there's so many things that go into this. Like, do you guys have conversations without leading into arguments? Like, can she be logical and be empathetic and be respectful about what's going on in your mind? So if she, for example, and there's a lot of other things too, like what's warranted for automatic breakup for me is, let's just say my partner cheated on me. That's an automatic breakup.
I think that's the easy one,
yes.
though. But let's talk about that.
Yes.
I've never had to experience that. I think that's
right.
one of the worst things that could happen to anyone.
Right.
But how in that situation would you act, or like what has been your experience, or like the people that you know, like what would be the best case scenario? She cheats on you or you cheat, because also like we have women that watch the show. So how should that play out?
Just to go, because you said like that's the easy, like one of the easy ways of knowing. See, here's the thing. Even though it's technically easy for us to stand on this podcast and talk about it, there are a lot of men and women that still allow it to happen and continue to allow it to happen because they don't have the emotional willpower to like get over it and to move on from it. And when I say move on, means like you separate yourself. That's what at least I would do, and I'm sure you would do that as well. I've never had to deal with this, but I have seen levels of disrespect from my partners before in public. So I was like, well, this is not really right for me. Here's the thing. The foundation to all of this, whether it's cheating, whether it's disrespect, whether it's her yelling at you in public and you're sick of it, or her flirting with other guys in front of you and it's like blatantly disrespectful, it's the lack of self-identity that men have. The lack of self-identity. So if men don't understand their boundaries, their value, their code of life that they follow, standards, all of a sudden they start to accept things, and they start to just say, you know what, well, that's just who she is, so I'm just not gonna really do much. I'm not gonna really look too much into it because it's ultimately her personality, and I just have to accept it because she's a wonderful person and because she's good looking, and she has been, she's good to me on these segments, but over in here she's not that good. So I'm gonna just go pro and con, and I'm gonna say that the benefit outweighs the cons, right?
Yeah, and that's so complicated because every person is different. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you said of identity.
Yes.
And you having your own standards and then finding a way to communicate that. But it's very difficult. It's like way easier to talk about it than when you're actually having those emotions and all the history that you have with the person, then that moment, whatever you're feeling. To be honest, I don't really know how to go about that in the best way possible. One, I haven't had that much experience. I was married for almost 10 years and then I got divorced, and that was terrible.
Right.
Just having to deal with that. It's easier to talk about it when you are just saying, yeah, this is what I would do. But then when you're in the middle of that situation, it's almost like your brain cannot even process, like, this is what I should do. It's
Right.
You're full with emotions and so many things are happening.